What's up guys, I'm Nick and this is Build Dad Build, where we find your lack of heavy metal disturbing. Since I started working with lasers, I get a lot of questions, but there's one question I get more than any other question, and that is, can a diode laser engrave metal? When I first got into lasers, I asked somebody else the same question. I said, well, I want a laser that'll be able to engrave metal and cut wood and engrave wood, and his response was, you can't engrave metal with anything less than a fiber, which is an accurate statement. What I would like to visit is what you mean by etch. Because what I think a lot of people want to do is they want to mark metal. They don't necessarily want to etch it. The process of etching takes away some of the material. You cannot do that with anything less than a fiber. But if you want to print a logo on some metal, you can do that with a diode laser. And you can do it with varying degrees of success. Hold please. This originally came up when I was on a live stream and I just grabbed a saw blade I had laying around and I ended up marking this on the blade. And nobody could really explain to me exactly the process or why that works. So I went out and I bought just some different kinds of metal. So like aluminum, I've got some brass, some copper, some mild steel, and stainless. Now stainless is one of those metals that they do say you can mark with the diode laser just right out of the box. However, you have kind of a varying degree of how dark you can get that marking. The actual thought process behind this, and this is the best answer I've gotten so far on why this looks so good, is because most saw blades are coated with like a Teflon coating, and what I'm doing here is actually reacting with the Teflon coating and not the metal itself. But after I got those different metals, like I tried some experiments with them to see if I could get them to mark, and I didn't get very good results. So I did a little research, and what I discovered is that you can use like a transfer compound to make your etches darker. So that's what we're gonna experiment with today. So as our marking compound, I guess is what I'll call it, I'm not sure what to refer it to as, we're gonna be using a product called dry Moly Lube. I will link this down below. It's about 10 bucks on Amazon. I don't know if you can buy this in stores. I didn't look, to tell you the truth. I don't think you can buy it at like Home Depot or Lowe's, but to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what kind of lube it is. I just know to not use it in the bedroom, kids. Don't do that. So what I've done is I've taken our different metals, I've coated them with 3 coats of dry Moly Lube. So what you wanna do is you wanna spray a coat on, let it dry for about 15 minutes, spray another coat on, let that dry for about 15 minutes, and spray one more coat on and let that dry for 15 minutes. And then you should be good to go. But you wanna make sure that you get like a full-on coverage, and you'll see it. When you first spray it on there, it doesn't really want to stick like evenly, so you definitely need those 3 coats to get yourself like a nice dark result. And then the testing went as follows. So this is brass. I've not removed the dry Moly yet, so what you're seeing is the results prior to removing it. But let's see if you can see this. Let me get you in a different angle. Okay, so what we've done here is this is 1 pass, this is 2 passes, 3 passes, 4 passes, 5 passes, and 10 passes. Basically, I figured, you know, if you're outside the 5 range, at that point, I just want to know if it's going to actually show up at 10. 10's going to not make it reasonable to do this very often because like 10 passes is going to take a very long time. So what I use is the xTool D1. This is a 10 watt laser, 10 watt diode, and the settings I used were their settings for stainless steel. Okay, so the settings in the laser box, which is xTool's proprietary software, are 100% power. The speed is set to 9 millimeters per second. If you're using a less powerful laser, if you're using a 5 watt laser, you may have to adjust accordingly to that. So let's check out some results, see what we got, and then what I really want to do is see if I can get like a nice big etch on a saw blade. So something similar to this, but like all over. You feel me? Okay, so let's see. First we're gonna start off with copper, and these are in no particular order. I don't know how the results are gonna be on any of these. Okay, so as you can see, I mean, it's not super dark, but I mean, you're in the realm of 3 there. That doesn't look too bad. So like your 1, your 2, your 3, your 4, and your 5. I mean, it's not a great result. It's there. But like your 10, look at that 10. That's pretty good. So I would say, I mean, if we're gonna do something small with brass, I'm sorry, something small with copper, this would work out. Okay, so next up we have brass. And like our first doesn't look too good. I don't know if you can see that. This 2 looks pretty good. I'm really having a bad time with reflection here, guys. But 2 looks pretty good. And then 3, 4, 5, I mean, those all look good. And then you get to 10. 10 looks solid, but I would say, I mean, you could get away with like a 3 or 4 or 5. So again, if you're marking something small, you could get away with it. I mean, something large would take forever if you wanna take that time. Next up, we have some mild steel. Now, I will point out, this has some scale on it, is what I've been told, is this little kind of, that texture right there, which means that this may not be the best result. Like, I don't know how you would actually take the scale off first, but that may affect us to a certain degree. But we do have some results here. So the first one, not great. Second one is fairly decent. And then 3, 4, I mean, you're getting a good result here. The reason these don't have the numbers on them is because my laser went to sleep when I was doing this one, but it did do all the skulls. So this is 4, 5, and then 10. So, I mean, like, honestly, between like maybe 3 or 4, I mean, I don't see much difference with 10. So I think you can get away with this. I think that would be, you know, that'd be a decent market. Right, next we have aluminum, and here is a result that I don't understand. So somebody of you guys that knows more about metal or is smarter than me, please let me know. Okay, so this is, like, you can faintly see the skulls, right? This is 2, that's 3, that's 4. Okay, and then see how light this 5 is? Okay, wait a second, I'm sorry. See how light this 5 is, and like you can barely see the skull for the 5. Now, 10 looks like this, but the skull on 10 is like, I mean, I can barely see a little ghost of it, but this 10 looks really good. So I don't understand why the skull having 10 runs on it, and the reason I know there was 10 runs on it is because the numbers run after the skulls. So this one did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and then it goes back and does the numbers. So that means that this ran 10 times on the skull, didn't give hardly any result, but this 10 looks amazing. So those of you guys out there that know more about this stuff than I do, please let me know on why the 10 looks good and there's no skull. All right, last up we have stainless, and this is a result I can get behind. Because check that out, that's 1 pass with dry moly. I think, so see, so that was a test. See that? The really faint skull there, skull and crossbones? That's no dry moly, that is dry moly. So that looks amazing, and you don't need to get into multiple passes, right? I mean, the number 1 looks fantastic. All right, so stainless we know is good. Varying results and other stuff. Now, Nick, why didn't you do all the other metals that are out there? And honestly, because a lot of that stuff is expensive. And to order metal online, the metal itself isn't that cheap. The shipping is a biznatch, if you know what I mean. It's a virtual and literal biznatch. Okay, so now that we have those results and having kind of decent results with a saw blade in the past, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this saw blade here, I'm gonna sand it down so we get kind of all this stuff off. We're gonna go ahead and give it 3 coats of dry moly like we did before, and then we're gonna put it on the laser and see what we can do. All right, so let's get to work. Let's do this, kids. Let's do it. Okay, so after you wipe it down with lacquer thinner, we're gonna hit it with some dry Moly Lube. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a coat, we're gonna let it dry, we're gonna wait about 15 minutes, we're gonna do another coat, let it dry, and 1 more coat. So 3 coats in total. You just wanna make sure that you get a nice even coat all the way across your surface that you're trying to mark. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry, about 15 minutes, come back and do that 2 more times.
1 hour later.
All right, before we get to the results, I would just like to say thank you guys for asking the questions so I can get the information out to you. So I have gotten this question quite a bit. For those of you that have asked me if you can do this technique on pew-pews, the reason that I can't give you a straight answer is because I don't always know the material that it's made out of. So if you have a certain type of pew that you're thinking about doing some marking on or something like that, if you can get me something with that material on it or something along those lines, I can definitely test it out for you. And if you have any questions on anything else that you can engrave or cut with a diode laser, please put them in the comments down below. If I see enough interest for it, we'll try to make it into another video. So guys, thanks for sticking around, especially my Patreon members. These guys are the bee's knees, and I appreciate each and every one of you, especially my Boilermaker patrons, or my top tier patrons: Stephen Mann, Eric Weiss, Chuck Faulkner, Derek Coates, Puffy Muffins. I gotta pull the rest up because they're out of order. We got some new people. Hold please, hold. Puffy Muffins, we got Jim Carter, Andy the Viking, Dwight Smith. Welcome Christopher Walters. I was hoping for Walken, but it's Walters. And we also have another new patron coming in at the cask strength tier, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Hey there, Rich. How's it going, buddy? So once again, dry January, coffee it is. Clinkies. Okay, so the saw blade has been lased, has been lacquer thinnered. It's been wiped off, and here is our result. Check it out, kids. How cool is that? That looks awesome. And like so I still have a little lacquer thinner on here, so a little bit of liquid. So if you put a top coat on this, it would be even darker because it would show up more like that. Definitely a cool little thing to do with old saw blades. Hang them on the wall. You can make clocks out of them, I guess. That's your thing. I don't really care what time it is. But I think I have a bunch of old saw blades of my dad, so I think I might do this treatment on more of them, maybe hang them up around the shop and things like that. But a cool little thingamadoo, to sell or give to people or do whatever with. I don't know, chuck them at people.
Don't
you know.
do that.
The wife speaks. So to answer the age-old question, age-old being like the last 5 years, can you etch metal with a diode laser? No, but you can mark it. All right, guys, thanks for playing. Until next time, I gotta get to work. Definitely a beanie kind of intro. It's a beanie kind of intro. Beanie kind of intro. That's what we're gonna experiment with today. I don't have it in here. For my next feat, can I say it? For my next feat, scalp on. We're gonna see some cow down here. Coffee makes me poop. I'm horrified of these things, like, ah!